Okay, grab a cup of coffee, relax. If you'd like to really sit down, let me clear my throat because we need to sit down and learn something. So I've been getting the same question a lot, and I wanted to help answer it, and I wanted to answer it in depth and in full. And the answer is, are you interested in the MLB algorithm? You want to use it, but you're like, oh my gosh, there's so much going on here, Ken. Your videos are so hard to follow. You're bouncing around. You're talking super fast. Like, I don't know if I can handle this. Totally hear you. Totally understand. So I did what a normal human being would do. And I wrote down instructions. And we're going to go through the instructions because today, and especially kind of right now in the middle of the day on Saturday, April 8th, 6:30 is the middle of the day. At least it is when it comes to the baseball games when they're starting. It's a great way to show you how you kind of pick this up, understand everything that's going on, and we'll go through all the steps and I will show you exactly how to do this. Because it's basically getting close to autopilot mode, meaning you just need to import some stats every day that are coming in. And once you do that, you just refresh some things, you check for some errors, and then you're on your way. So let's do it. And we're also going to do it where we're going to talk in theory about why things are constructed the way they are also. Because that's important is I made this process, like I kind of went in order and I was able to write all this stuff down and then just verify it by looking at the sheets because there's an order to understanding what you're doing. So I want to try to communicate that order so that you'll be more able to fix up problems that will arise. All right. So let's start at the beginning with updating odds. Provide the link to the odds sheet. We could go there, but we're not going to. But you just export the Excel export from MLB odds there on RotoWire. By the way, you're going to need a RotoWire subscription. Maybe we will go there just to show you. You're going to need a RotoWire subscription for some of this stuff. And you're not going to be able to really fully update the algorithm without having that subscription. So here's where the MLB odds are right now. They're not the entire day because some games have already started. They only have the 7 o'clock games in here. Well, I already grabbed that. All right. And so this is where I said this is a great part of the day to explain what to do and how to do this. So I now have all the sheets in order like this, the way that you're going to update them, actually, with the exception of the matchup sheet, which is your main sheet that you always kind of need to look at. But I'm putting that more in the middle because I want to have that connected to other stuff at the end here. So let's go back to in order, right? So you're going right to left. You're reading in Hebrew, essentially. You're going right to left. And you have to update you're checking, you're reading what I said. So you go to the odds sheet, which is right here. So what's going on in the odds sheet is we have an area of formulas, which is this stuff that's colored. And then we have an area where you're going to be pasting in that information that came from RotoWire, this stuff, right? Now, the problem arises when you're trying to figure out, well, I want to have a complete days of games in here, all right? Now, I actually have yesterday's games in here because I was working with the 7th, so I still have yesterday in here. Then I also grabbed this last night when I did a video, and I put the 8th already in here. So it's good because I grabbed some of this already. So the fact that these games already started, and we're going to probably get scores on those games before the end of this video, the fact those games have already started means, oh, that's great. I have this already. That's awesome. But then I wanted to get more current odds, which apparently is this. So I pasted what we just went and got from the MLB odds sheet on RotoWire. I just grabbed this a few minutes ago. This is it. Well, what we want to do is we want to construct this area to just have today's games. That's the best way to do this. And we want to start it right at the top here in this cell L2. You can almost make this yellow because that's really where you're going to want to do your pasting, even though you can alter this whole sheet. You can see we have different columns for the team name and the date and the line and the pitcher. These are all really important, those 4. Over, under, you could also care about as well. I don't know why it's a decimal. It's kind of funny. Anyway, so what do? Well, we're going to get rid of everything from the 7th because we don't care about that yesterday. We're moving on. We do this one day at a time. So I press the delete button. Don't delete the cells, just clear the contents of the area. We're then going to want to, we have this newer set of odds that I pasted here. I'm going to paste over right here where those odds were listed when I grabbed them last night, because these odds are a little more updated, and maybe even some pitchers are updated if they had a pitching change. So we don't need this anymore. Clearing that out. But generally, it's going to be super easy, and all you're going to do is go and grab the export off of RotoWire. If you do it before any of the games start, and you're going to get this chunk of information right here, and you're just going to paste it right there. I pasted as values, and we don't need any of this other stuff. So this is generally how easy it is you just paste it from, but I want to show you how you construct it. And if you needed to create a new game, you could type the full name of the team and it will start to actually give you a prediction, but you need to put in a picture to make it work. So you can fill this in by hand, but it's easiest to get it from RotoWire like that. Now, great. We now have current day's odds in, and we explain what needs to be altered in the odds sheet when you're updating it to make sure you have complete information. It will appear correctly. If everything's working, you get a clean set of information. You don't have any errors. We had a team missing, you'd start to get an error here. And so you don't want errors because it's going to screw you up. So that's 15 games that we have. So now we need to just go to our matchup sheet. This is the one time we jump away from in order. We just go to our matchup sheet because we want to prepare it for a 15-game day. And the way to prepare it is it's self-numbering over here in column B. These are the numbers of the games. So we just needed to stop at 15. So that's all there are today. So in order to get rid of these extra games I had down here, I will highlight an entire row of blank stuff below it and then use the autofill to go up and override all these games that we don't need. If you just try to delete those cells, there's a reference that moves vertically in here and it will break these formulas. That's why I don't recommend just doing like delete. It's going to screw stuff up. Don't do this. Don't do it that way. Do it the way I said. And when you need to create games, you grab, like, let's go too far, right? Let's go too far. Imagine we went too far and we were like, oh, I actually know there's 15 games. How do I get 15 games? You grab 2 rows from start to finish there, from A to column X, and you do the autofill down 2 at a time, and it gets you to bring in the correct information. All right. Then you get rid of final scores because these are final scores from yesterday's games that you hand typed in there. This is the only area that you hand type in on this sheet other than over here, actually. Pitcher stat year you can hand type in, and final score you hand type in. So, okay. Now, we did that. Shintaro Fujinami. All right, before we get into updating the pitcher sheet, because that's what we're going to do next, we're going to then go back. So we just prepared our file. And if you wanted to really go fast, we could show you how to change these, but I'm going to wait until we update pitchers. So there's a reason this isn't working yet, and it's because we have pitcher problems, and I'll explain it when we get back to it. So now we get back to the easy stuff when it comes to updating, right? So we did step 1, we did step 2, which is adjust matchup sheet to correct length of games. That's important because it just kind of starts to show you where you have errors and where you're going to have to look, but it's now ready in terms of actual rectangular size. It is the correct size of the day down to 15 games. Okay. So that's done. Step 1 is done. Step 2 is done. All right. We can almost color them. We're like, we're done already. Next, team pitching stats from 2023. So that's here. Now there are 2 sets of stats of team pitching stats. You get there by following that link, or if you didn't have that link on you, you'd go to Fantasy Sports MLB Stats, Team Stats. Team Stats gives you these different options that you can choose. We use these for batting basic, batting advanced, pitching basic, pitching advanced. I've gone over this in other videos. It's actually pretty simple, so we're not going to spend a lot of time on it, and we're not going to do it because I've already done it, so I didn't want to waste the time of the video. You're going to export the Excel for those 4, and here's where they go. The advanced one goes right here for pitching. Advanced pitching goes here. Basic pitching goes over here, right here. Same idea for batting. Advanced batting goes right here. And basic batting goes right here. You just paste it right there after you export it. That's easy. Okay, that's really easy, right? That's all you got to do there. All right. So those 2 are now done. Team pitching and team batting are now done. Yay. Next. Player pitching stats and player batting stats are both. So that's another link. You could follow the link, or we can go there. it's under stats, basic stats, and you get batters or pitchers. Once again, I've already done this, so we don't have to actually go through the process, but you export it, and here's where you put them. Notice it says you put them where the anchor is in the 2023 sheet. The 2023 sheets are these ones, okay? So the pitchers, normally if you look at the top of this sheet, what we've got is a lot of pitching stats from 2022. That is what's showing over here. That's why the year is 2022. We have the entire 2022 season put in here. Well, we need to override 2023. If you hold down the control button, you'll find the anchor, which is in column X. It's right here. Right now it's in row 936. That could stay that way if you don't insert anything above it. It would stay at row 936 the whole season. You're going to paste it right here in column B. This is where you end up pasting that export that you run. Batters pivot, or batters sheet, same idea. There's an anchor. It's right here in row 690 right now. And your paste goes right here because these are 2023 batting stats. So copy, you exported those off of RotoWire, you pasted those in. We're done with that. We are rolling. Okay. Next, import lineups. Now we start to get fun. Now we start to get where I haven't actually done it yet because I have to show you how to do this stuff. Lineups. I believe I posted the lineups link there, didn't I? Yeah, lineups link is here, or it can be found under lineups and daily lineups. So here's what you do in Google Chrome. And I don't know if it works in all browsers this way, but it works this way in Google Chrome and Microsoft Excel. Control A highlights the entire page. Control C copies all the stuff you just highlighted. You go to the lineups thing and you get rid of what was in L and you paste match as destination formatting in cell L1. And that brings in all the lineups right here in this column L of the lineup sheet. You then refresh the lineups pivot. And now all of a sudden you get a list of the team, the pitcher, the player on the team, and the batting order that they're in, and whether or not we have them in our database of players on the correct team, what their contribution was from each year. That's what this whole area is showing right here. And you have to do some human sanity on this sheet because there are so many potential errors that I try to make them obvious, but you got to browse. And here's what I'm browsing. You're just going to scroll down when you do this. You're going to look to see if there are any errors over here. And you're also going to look to see if a pitcher's name is abbreviated with like M Perez, M. Perez instead of Martin Perez. You'll see some of them are accidentally like that if their names are too long. And Shintaro is going to be one of them. So this is okay. A 0 is okay. That just means the person had no stats for the year we're talking about. That's okay most of the time, but we'll see. All right. So don't see any errors. Don't see any errors. Don't see any name problems. Don't see any errors. Shintaro is correct because I fixed him. He used to just be an S, but it was like this. It's how it appears. And you actually need to type in the correct name or bring in the correct name. And Shintaro, it's not an easy name to spell. Shintaro space. When you get the name right, I'm going to show you how you know the name is right in a minute. Scroll down. I don't see any errors. I don't see any abbreviations. I don't see any errors. I don't see any errors. I don't see any abbreviations. I don't see any errors. I don't see any abbreviations. Now, all right, that means we have a really clean lineup sheet. Okay. So that is now essentially done. All right. And then back to our instructions. We imported lineups and we reviewed lineups and we didn't have any errors so far. That was good. It's a good day. Next, review matchup sheet. So now we're starting to get into it. Like now we're almost getting ready to really look at stuff. What's going on in this sheet? Well, there are errors next to pitchers. First thing I would do is make sure all of these are 2022 in terms of pitcher stat year. So now things we're looking at, remember I said you can type in two places on here. You can type in this column or you can type in the final score column. Those are the only two you can type over. The rest of them are formulas and you don't want to be typing over them. So here's the situation. Shintaro Fujinami played in Japan and had no stats. However, he does have 2023 stats. And I used them when I did the video last night, even though he has an ERA more than he has an ERA basically almost almost 4 touchdowns. No, sorry, more than 4 touchdowns. 4 touchdowns and a field goal is this guy's ERA every game. So he is like the Arizona Cardinals defense, basically playing for Oakland. The Oakland Raiders aren't even in Oakland anymore. He's the Las Vegas Raiders defense is what this guy's ERA was, which is why I said there'd be a ton of runs for Tampa Bay, which you'll see in a second. But that's how you fix him. Because if you use 2022, you have nothing. You have to use something else. The way you check that and update that is by looking in the pitcher sheet. This is where we have history of each pitcher. And Shintaro, I had him down as projected. This was the projected stats that RotoWire gave for him, which, as you can see, are ridiculous because he's getting hit out of the park. So they're wrong. So we used his 2023 instead there. Let's go back to the matchup sheet. Fix everybody else up. Kodai Senga. Let's see what we have on this guy in our pitcher sheet. Control F, I'm finding his name, and it's showing me that we've got him in probably in at least one place. We've got 2023 stats for him, so we could use that, even though they're very limited. Or we have single A stats for him. All right, those are the two that we have. So what you can do is you can make a choice. You can say, all right, do I want to use 2023 with these 5 innings, or do I want to use his single A, which has 50 innings? Well, I just want to glance at his 2023 real quick, because this is where you're doing a sanity check, and you're saying he had an ERA of 7, so he got hit pretty hard. Oh, wait a minute. No, sorry. He had, hold on a second. All right, hold on. You can choose, this was 2022. His single A stats have him 2-5 with a 3.35 ERA. His 2023 stats have him at, oh wow, really good pitching stats. All right, I'm going to leave his really good start of 2023 in there because I like using 2023 anyway. So that's what we did with Kodai Senga. Johnny Brito, I think, is the same issue. So to save time, I'm just going to use Johnny Brito's 0 ERA from 2023, which is probably not advisable, but I'm doing it. Now, all of a sudden, guess what? Everybody's fixed, and now all of a sudden we get projections for the day. We do. One more thing we have to check is the lineup factor. I mentioned it in the notes. I said, make sure that lineup factors are all above 0, okay? That means looking in the matchup sheet at whether or not this is above 0. Because if it was 0, you'd have it a pitcher problem, okay? For example, like Luis Garcia, if his name had come in abbreviated or misspelled, like I'll just add a 1 to his name to screw it up. If it's misspelled or wrong, guess what happens in the matchup sheet? The lineup factor goes to 0 right here. 0 for Houston. Can't have that. Can't have that. Got to have their names correct and make sure that they have a lineup factor. So I just went back and fixed that, and the lineup factor fixed itself. So we have lineup factors for everybody, and we have pitcher years appropriate, and we now have projected scores because there are no errors. All right. So now what? We reviewed matchup sheet, and it's working. So now it says test combos and browse. Combo number in cell Y1 can be changed to simulate different distributions. Yup. So now's where you get to start to have some fun. So Y1 is right here. This is an area where you're able to change any simulation or combination string you want. Combination 1 has a complete, combination 1 only has Tampa Bay putting up 17 runs. Put it that way. Now, why did I have it set on 488? Well, we have a sheet called combos. Now we're getting into all of our testing sheets and everything. We have, oh yeah, there's one more thing I need to talk about. You shouldn't have to change any of this, but the last thing we could do it actually right here. I'm going to move the day cube up to right after odds, and I'll add it in there, and I'll say, check day cube. Remember to check day cube. Remember to check day cube and change day if needed. So what the day cube is the source for our pivot. Now I'm going to change this thing to today, which makes the day that every game is being recorded as today, which is right now the 8th. Normally you won't have to do anything with this. Once you update your odds sheet, and your matchup sheet is not longer than 29 games or something, you're going to be fine. So you won't generally have to do anything here, but this is the sheet that's going to feed our browse pivot sheet. So I just wanted to let you know that after the odds, you should verify that this thing is pulling correctly and has the right day in there. All right, now, anyway, all right, let's keep going. Review matchup sheet we did, and then test combos and browse. So now we're getting into the combos, all right? The combinations are the different percentages of different variables that we have in the file. It's showing you how we're weighting different things. Meaning we cared a lot about ERA and pitcher whip in this combo number 488 that won 10 games on Friday. It was the winner from not 4-7, it was 4-8, it was 4-7's winner actually. And these were all 4-7 second best. I had the wrong day because I was filming it overnight. So what I have here is the combination that was the best on Friday was the one I'm using. But I'm going to show you how we're going to test other combinations before this video is over. So it had 10 wins. That's why in the matchup sheet, I chose to use number 488. And that's what gave us this. We could try any one of the other ones, and we're not going to get into trying all of them, but you could try any of them to see what they're doing. And we're going to be testing these before the end of the video. So using 488, guess what you get to do now? Is you get to go to the day pivot. Let's make the day pivot purple. This is where you get to look at the day once you refresh. Once you refresh, you get a look at this 15-game day. All right. And the order of teams. It said Tampa Bay, Yankees, Mets, Dodgers, all these games that are above. Well, that margin is out of control because of that guy's ERA. The ERA was so ridiculous that it really screwed up the margins in this comparison. But that's what it said. Now, all right, so that's how you do it. You refresh, and now you get a look at the day in order and how many runs it thinks the teams are going to score. All right, now what? Well, we have results already for some of these games. So we're going to put in those results, and then we're going to test some things. So I am looking for the scores of the games on my phone, and I'm going to type them in. All right. So Houston lost 6-9 to Minnesota. The Royals won 6-5 against San Francisco. Texas, where are you? Well, I don't know. The Texas game is not showing up. Maybe it got moved. Cincinnati 2, Philadelphia 3. So Philadelphia wins that game. Boston 14-5 over Detroit. Oakland lost 11-0. So the algorithm was off by 10 runs, yet somehow really, really accurate at the same time. Marlins lose 2-5 to the Mets. Okay, those are the games that are done. I guess the Texas game is maybe no, it's going on right now. It's actually 10-3. We're going to put that score in there. It's 10-3 Cubs. Okay. The rest of the games are too early or nothing really going on yet. So we've just put in results. Now when we go to the day pivot sheet, we can refresh. And we get a view of how the day has gone so far with combo number 488, which is apparently 4-3. Now here's the cool thing about testing. So even though the day is not done, we're going to run the pivot or run the macro is what we're going to do. So there's a testing cube sheet. This is the next thing. Going back to the instructions, because we just browsed a matchup and we tested a combo or two, so we're good. We now have done the current day in our browse sheet. Use the day cube sheet. Not the day cube. No, it's not the day cube. Use the day pivot sheet. Day pivot sheet. Not day cube. All right, use the day pivot sheet. So we've done that. Now, the end of day macro run, even though it's not the end of the day, we're still going to do it. So what you do is you go into the T cube, clear out T cube data. That means you go here, Control Shift, right arrow, down arrow gets you highlighting what stuff. You clear it out, clear contents. I press the delete button. You don't just, that's how you get rid of it. So now we've cleared this out. And now all we need to do is run the macro. View macro, run. What? Subscript out of range. Oh no. Well, I guess I have to fix the macro. Are you serious? I just did a bunch of work. Apparently I broke something. I'll fix the macro and do the rest of the macro video later in a different video, because the truth is updating the file doesn't really involve running the macro unless you want to start testing historical data and get different combination strings results. So that's a great idea, because this video is long anyway. So we'll talk about the macro and all these other sheets in a macro only video now that I've kind of set the macro up the way I want, even though it just didn't work, but I'll update it and fix it pretty quick. Now, so going through the instructions, the rest of these need to be work on. I will definitely do that. But I've gotten you where you need to go to be able to go through every single sheet and to update to get a look for the day. That's what I've done. All right. And if you need to change team, if somebody shows up as an error on the lineup sheet, this is where you update them in the matrix sheets. It's the only part I didn't tell you about how to do, even though I've done it in other videos, is you find that the player's name and you put their correct team in there, and you put their correct abbreviated name from the lineup sheet on it. So their abbreviated name is what shows up right here from RotoWire. See how sometimes it's abbreviated, like M. Maldonado? The abbreviated name goes in the abbreviated column, and the full name from RotoWire goes here, and the team goes here. And if you adjust it in the matrix, you're going to get it right. Sometimes you need to go back and change their historical 2022 team to a correct team if they get traded and you want to use their 2022 team stats. That's how you do it in there. And then the only other thing to talk about is you can change the weights of how much we care about each season stats. I want to move it almost entirely to 2023 stats really, really soon. I want to move right now. It's 25% 2022 stats and 75%. It's in this formula in here. You can change that formula, change these percentages to whatever you want. Eventually, it's going to be all 2023, 100%. And then you would paste that down, and that will apply to everybody. All right, that's it, guys. That's the really extensive how to update the MLB algorithm file. It gets you to a point where the matchup sheet is as accurate as it can be, and you're also allowed to toggle, different people's pitching stats to see if it would have changed things, right? Apparently, using this guy's 2023 stats was excellent because the Mets won 5-2, and that's what it said they would have done, because he had a really low ERA and pitched great in his first start. So that's one of the advantages of using 2023 stats sometimes. All right, guys, if you want a copy, go purchase one in the link in the description, and I will get you one, and you can use this video and the instructions to get where you need to get. And there will be another video about the macro here by April 10th, and then you guys are going to be off and running, and it's baseball for everybody else except me for the rest of the season. All right, good luck. May all your picks be winning in your baseball beach.